starts coming up this week. Then straight into SEC play with a trip from Mississippi State, Tennessee, Vanderbilt from there. So you don't dive into the deep end of the SEC, but still some tough teams to deal with. And the SEC East would appear to be wide open. Florida not impressive in its first game, and now without a second game to come off of. And, of course, Tennessee expected to struggle, did gut out a really impressive overtime performance against Georgia Tech, but they looked awful before that. Should have been run out of the building. So are Georgia fans already thinking that they should win the SEC East?
Well, I hope not, because I think, Georgia's still learning and still growing as a team. So, I mean, I'm sure some fans are hoping that that's the end goal. But I think that Georgia needs to take it week by week, focus on each opponent individually, and not look forward to anything, not expect anything. It's a tough conference, and any given day, any given team can beat whoever. So I think if Georgia, prepares weekly, focuses and stuff like that, I think Georgia could very well end up in Atlanta, which, great.
Yeah, I certainly don't want to discount what South Carolina's accomplished thus far. They've got the first SEC win in the division over Mizzou after a pretty impressive showing against North Carolina State as an underdog, pulling out that game 35-28. So it will be interesting once they dive into Eastern Division play. Again, it's Mississippi State, then it's Tennessee, it's Vandy. After Georgia, we would think, would have few issues with Samford. But we will let you handicap that one, Savannah. What do you think?
I think this is Georgia's game to finally, put some points on the board, show the fans that we can move the ball, we can score points, and we can get this offense going. After such a strong defensive performance last week, it's time for the offense to step up and do something. I'm impressed with so far. I think we've improved since last season, but the fact that Nick Chubb only has 159 yards against App State and then a Notre Dame team, I just don't think that's very that's not okay. He should at least be 200 yards deep right now. He should be getting more carries he only has 28 carries on the season as well. And I just don't think that's quite what Georgia is used to. I think Georgia's a running team. Georgia is used to having Nick Chubb, execute, and even Sony Michel. But the thing is it's just the offense keeps stuttering. I think that Georgia finally comes in, they settle in, they give Nick Chubb some reps, and then they finally air the ball out too. I can't believe you didn't mention the Terry Godwin one-handed catch for the Notre Dame game. And then you also have to mention Javon Wims, the junior college transfer out of Mississippi. He's just kind of coming into his own, and I think this week is going to be a good test for him to make those plays, because last week he had a couple drop balls in the end zone, and he admits it to himself. So we spoke to him yesterday, and he was like, that was my bad, and I've working on that. So that's one thing I love about this team, is how humble they are and how together they are. That's one thing that's standing out to me for sure. And I think this week it's all about offense. Let's produce some points, let's produce long drives, and let's just put this game away.
Savannah, that's why I've got you around to remind me of these things. So I'm watching 14 games at the same time. I did see the Godwin catch, and I remarked to my son that was the best catch I had seen this season. We're only 2 weeks deep, but that was the best catch I have seen this season. Not quite Odell Beckham-esque of bending all the way back, but, man, it was a remarkable catch with a defender draped around him. You mentioned the rushing attack. It wasn't awful against Notre Dame, but no real explosive big plays. Nick Chubb did rip off a 30-yard run, but 4.8 per carry. Sony Michel at 5.5 yards per carry. That's again, against what we expect is going to be a decent defense in Notre Dame. Not a great defense, decent defense. Not bad rushing statistics, but those two backs, much as expected this season out of those guys in leading Georgia against the likes of the SEC East. Right now, 13th in the country after a 2-0 start. Savannah Lee joining us from Bulldog Illustrated. Please join her there for the very best in Georgia football coverage. Savannah, we always appreciate you stopping by.
Oh, yeah. Love it.